Historic in several ways. The US has rolled out its biggest red carpet for India's Prime Minister, really reflecting the kind of importance that the two countries attach to their relationship, and now of course it is getting stronger by the day. Anytime now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be there reaching White House, and he will be accorded a welcome of course, and then that important bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden.
So a large crowd of Indian Americans are also present at the south lawns of the White House to welcome their Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It is the official first state visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the United States. Well, we heard our correspondents. There was a very excited atmosphere. Modi, Modi chants were, heard as the crowd was really ecstatic. This, in fact, were of the opinion that never ever before they've seen an event of such sorts.
All right, let's also connect with our guests and get more perspective on the India-US partnership and what we're really seeing on our screens right now. We're joined by Dr. Harinder Sekhon, strategic and foreign affairs expert, and we're also joined by Ambassador Rajiv Kumar Bhatia, former Director General of the ICWA. Good evening and welcome, gentlemen, to this special broadcast on the historic state visit of to the United States by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yes, we welcome Dr. Harinder Sekhon also. Welcome, Dr. Sekhon. Let's begin with you. How would you sum up the events so far and this visit in general? Broadly speaking, where do you see the synergies between the two countries, and do you also think that this visit will prove transformative as regards India-US relations are concerned?
Absolutely. I think there's been a tremendous build-up to this visit, as is evidenced because of the sheer number of high-profile visits which have taken place from the American side. We've had the US Defense Secretary coming in, Antony Blinken was here before that. Then we've had Jake Sullivan, the NSA, who've literally been kind of building into this visit by the Prime Minister. And as you've mentioned earlier, this is just the third state visit of the Biden administration, and only the second time that an Indian Prime Minister is being accorded such honor. Before this, this visit, there was a roadmap for defense relationship and industrial cooperation, the ISET, which was signed in January 2023, which has really set the stage for this high level of defense and technical and strategic cooperation between India and the United States. Such high level of cooperation, or at least the roadmap for one, has not been witnessed in a very long time since the nuclear deal which took place more than 15 years ago. So I think this is a transformative visit because it's a lot of synergy, a lot of energy which has gone into planning, and it's visible not just in Washington, in New York when the Prime Minister landed, to celebrate yoga at the UN headquarters. I think this was very symbolic. So apart from the symbolism, I think there are going to be definite takeaways from this visit, and this is the time when both India and the United States have realized that it is mutually beneficial for them to take this relationship forward. It's no longer transactional. I think there is definite understanding that this visit and the relations are important for both countries.
Right. Okay. For those of the viewers who are joining us right now, these are live visuals from Washington, D.C. at the White House. We can see from the Indian side there is External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, the NSA Ajit Doval, and the Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra, as well as India's Ambassador to the United States, along with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, along with other officials of the US government, right there waiting for India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to arrive any time now, as he's accorded with a ceremonial welcome, and then later of course he will be holding a bilateral meeting with the American President Joe Biden. Extremely crucial there. Let me also go across to Ambassador Rajiv Kumar Bhatia. Ambassador Bhatia, in a short while from now we will be seeing that bilateral meeting taking place between the two leaders. What do you expect there? What can be on agenda? What all can transpire in that meeting?
Thank you very much for having me here. I think we are all running out of adjectives and catchphrases to describe the importance of this visit. But you have invited me to be here at a time when there is a very central part of the visit unfolding in front of our eyes. Essentially, the entire pomp and show and glamour of diplomacy is fully on display, and this is on display at one of the most important addresses in the world, the White House in Washington. Now, to your question as to what we could expect, I think fundamentally a great deal of what is expected to happen is now known, and yet we can never prejudge as to what the leaders will discuss and the kind of agreements they would reach. Therefore, certain degree of expectation and surprise should be expected. I think
that one surprise has been revealed, Ambassador Bhatia, with General Electronics and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited announcing that deal that they've made for the fighter jet engines.
Yes, you are right, and yet it was expected as well. I think essentially at the forthcoming meeting, the important thing would be both at the delegation level talks and at the restricted talks. The entire spectrum of global affairs will come up for a serious discussion. It would be naturally, there would be a special focus on India-US relations in all its aspects, political, diplomatic, geopolitical, defense, technology, trade, culture, diaspora, health, security, energy, and the rest of it. So there would be a focus on bilateral dimensions of the relationship. But then the dialogue is bound to move beyond this to other aspects of the world. And I think it would be right to say that first of all, there would be a great deal of discussion once again on the Indo-Pacific. Even though the two leaders, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, have been meeting each other on an average once in 2 or 3 months. Hiroshima summit, Quad summit, and now G20 that will follow. But Indo-Pacific is so central to their concerns and interests that I would be very surprised if that was not touched in depth. But beyond that, I think if we look at other parts of Asia, South Asia, West Asia, East Asia, all of that will come under this scanner. And that does not leave, obviously, the war situations in Europe, Ukraine, for example. And in that sense, Europe's relations with Russia, America's relations with Russia, India's relations with Russia. I mean, it's very difficult to imagine that any major topic in world affairs could be left.
Okay, Ambassador Bhatia, I request you to hold your thought there. I'll come back to you. We can see visuals from Washington, D.C. at the White House. President Joe Biden and the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, are out. They are, of course, going to be joining other American officials who are out to welcome India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They've met Prime Minister Modi earlier when he landed at Washington, D.C. In fact, PM Modi in return also presented them with several gifts, symbols of the warmth and the friendship that not just the two countries but the two leaders also share on a personal level. And those gifts were from different states of India. There you can see the cavalcade of India's Prime Minister. Yes, that historic moment has arrived when Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached the White House.
the national anthem of the Republic of India, followed by the national anthem of the United States.
नहीं लोग हैं पीछे अब दोनों Where we need to stop? Here? अंकित, ये जो गार्ड्स खड़े हैं आगे ना, इनके बीच में से मिल रहा है। 200 से मिलेंगे, यहाँ से मिल गए? मिल गए? अच्छा ठीक।
Mr. President, this concludes the honors.
Distinguished guests, the President of the United States.
Welcome, Mr.